For the past 2 months, I have been non-stop playing this game called Monster Hunter Frontier Zenith. You've probably heard about Monster Hunter before, at least the mainline series. I've talked about it before on the channel, just, a little bit. The mainline Monster Hunter games focus on the realism of the creatures and environments, making sense of their biology and fantasy realism. Frontier, yeah, they don't care about realism. There are certainly some outrageous monsters with crazy attacks in the mainline series, but nothing compares to Frontier. Listen, I've played a lot of games with ridiculous boss fights. Frontier is easily in the top 3. I've heard about this game numerous times before, but never had a chance to play it because it was a Japanese exclusive MMO. I remember watching YouTube videos of these overpowered monsters nuking the arena or unleashing a ridiculous second phase, only for the person playing to perfectly dodge everything. Listen, I have like 70 hours in the game. I don't know how they do that. Frontier is truly one of the most absurd games I've played, and it's because of the monsters. I've always looked for videos on someone diving deep into the lore and details of these different monsters and their variants, but never really found it. Well, hey, YouTuber here, that's why I'm here. I'll put a list of the chapters on screen, so if there's a specific category you want to look at, be my guest. For now, let's start small. Okay, what was I supposed to do there? Of course, by small, I mean that by Frontier standards. The regular monsters of Frontier are like most in the series. You got your tail swipes, charges, breath attacks, 5 different rage modes, defying the laws of physics, and of course killing you with nearly full HP. It's pretty much the standard around here. But excuse me, where are my manners? Let me set the foundation here. Hunter Rank 1. The starting line for new players. HR1 is wet grass in terms of difficulty, and it makes sense. Its purpose is for you to understand the mechanics of the game. It plays like older Monster Hunter games like Monster Hunter 2, but slowly unwinds with different mechanics, which includes weapon styles like Earth, Heaven, and Storm. By Hunter Rank 2, the Elder Dragons like Teostra, Kushala, Chameleos, and even Fatalis are available to you.
Oh my gosh, is that the Ender Dragon? Cornhole!
Let me reiterate what I just said. Elder Dragons, one of the most powerful species of monsters in the series that, normally, in the mainline games, you can't fight until high rank, and having at least 20 hours clocked in, are available to you in Frontier almost instantly. This is the power scaling we are working with. Once you hit high rank, the monsters increase in difficulty dramatically. One of my favorites is Gasura Bazura. And you'll notice that the translation from Frontier exclusive monsters is kind of wonky, so just bear with me here. Gasura Bazura is this poison ground type monster with 2 main abilities, toxins and quicksand pits. How about a poisonous quicksand pit? Yeah, he can do that too. Now in his base form, he relies on his poisonous abilities like giant bubbles or spewing puddles of sludge. The range of his attacks, as you can see, are quite far. He's a very mobile creature that can easily overwhelm pretty much anyone when they're first fighting him. And guess what? That's just half the fight. It is in his enraged state where the ground type really shines. In this form, Gasura Bazura relies solely on his strength, manipulating the very ground beneath him. The amount of range he has is incredible. The amount of damage he can deal, ridiculous. If you ever play Frontier, which I recommend, but if you ever do, Hulk Pots will be your best friend. It's an item in the game that'll reduce the damage you take by 70%, and even then, some of these later monsters will still violate you. Another monster that I think is really cool is Unknown. And yes, that is its name. I know, very edgy. I'm sure it listens to like Breaking Benjamin or 3 Days Grace. But I said something earlier about 5 different enraged states, and that was not a joke. The Unknown Wyvern has 5 stages of rage that of course get progressively harder. It becomes faster and stronger with each button you press, indicated by the physical changes. She's got a whole arsenal of attacks. The Fireball nuke Espinos can perform, she can do that as well. She can detach her spiky appendages and rain them down from the sky at such a high velocity that it pierces the ground. For some reason, they also gave her this gas attack that lowers your defense. Like, okay. With each enraged state, the fight only becomes more difficult. And it's not like she calms down either. She will stay enraged throughout the whole hunt. I think what makes her so difficult, especially for first-time players, is her wide arsenal. I mean, she can poison you, burn you, reduce your defense, other stuff, like, it's ridiculous. I mean, you want to talk about a monster that can dish out status conditions like it's birthday candy? Let's talk about, freaking, I don't know, I'm done trying to pronounce these names. This monster is neat, first off, like, I really like the concept here. He's similar to San Barioth because he can shoot out these dust tornadoes, except the difference is he can then shoot his spikes into the tornadoes that then spread throughout the entire arena. I had a Hulk pod active when fighting this monster, remember 70% damage reduction, and I don't think I could have done it without it. Once you deal enough damage, he utilizes the stormy elements in the locale, covering his tail in the winds like an airbender. He can create twisters more easily now, but the kicker here is that he activates this venomous gland that then gives his spikes the ability to poison, paralyze, and sleep you at random. Listen, I don't know what they were thinking, but like, why? Some attacks leave the spikes on the ground, and if you're caught in the middle of that, like, call a priest, because it's impossible to get up from that situation. Now, for those who don't know much about the Monster Hunter series, there's low rank, there's high rank, and then there's G rank. You'll see reoccurring monsters from low rank to G rank because it gets progressively more difficult, and in G rank, some of the old monsters get new attacks as well. However, when you have new monsters introduced in G rank, they are a complete menace because they start on the highest difficulty. Zenith is one of my favorite regular monsters in Frontier. He's got these cool whip-like appendages on his wings that he uses to upchuck the earth, and uses highly pressurized water cannons that hurts just a little bit. The spectacle of this fight is incredible, but it's also fairly balanced. See, as we reach the higher levels of absurdity in this game, your screen will be covered in whatever the monster decides to do. Zenith doesn't really do that, although the camera in this game is sometimes the absolute worst, I'm not gonna lie. Regardless, this monster is crazy cool, and I love how it fights. But this should give you a rough idea of how the Frontier exclusive monsters operate. Insane damage, great visuals, and like 25 status conditions. By the way, I didn't even mention the Elder Dragons because they're in a complete league on their own. That's a subject for another time. But now I can turn the gauge up just a bit with the next category, hardcore monsters. Hardcore monsters are like regular monsters, except harder. In Frontier, you can either accept a quest as normal or set it to hardcore difficulty. Well, what does that do exactly? It's weird because hardcore monsters are not really real. They don't have a reason for being alive or existing in the ecosystem like subspecies or variants. They're just kind of there for a harder difficulty option, which is all fine by me. Hardcore monsters will be much stronger, have slight appearance changes, and a couple of new attacks. Now, what's cool is the range of difficulty is vast because the amount of monsters with a hardcore variant is vast. You have monsters like Bulgerome, one of the easiest monsters in the game with a hardcore variant. It's got a cool mohawk and body slammed me the first time I fought it. Then you have some later monsters like Sand Blastoise with a hardcore variant as well. He can easily one-shot you, which at this point in the game is kind of normal. I can give you plenty of examples, but this one's pretty good. Even the rare species have hardcore variants, such as White Espinas. Now, compared to the original, he's a bit different. Firstly, appearance-wise, he has a much larger horn and a little bit of a darker color palette. It utilizes the same strengths normal White Espinas has, such as the Toxic Flame Tornado. I'm saying that like it's a regular thing. Frontier, dude, it's crazy. But it's more precise with its accuracy, and follows up with new combos. It also has a new Toxic Breath attack that, honestly, is kind of useless. Oh, and another Flame Tornado that can swoop up any nearby hunters. Which is pretty cool, right? Did I mention he also deals paralysis and poison with a single fireball? That's not even just the hardcore variant. Normal White Espinas can do that. There's also hardcore Acantor I fought recently, and this one's interesting. It has a bluish tint to it and sports larger tusks. It gains a few new attacks too, such as this Ring of Fire followed up by a large AoE Dragon Roar. It utilizes the screaming power of Acantor more in this fight, and even with overpowered armor, I came back to this, I had G rank armor, I came back to high rank for footage. He is still brutal. Hardcore monsters don't really have much meat on the bone by themselves, but they add an awesome additional challenge to those who want to experience that. I myself love hardcore monsters, especially the slight alterations to their designs and fight. It would be kind of boring to simply have the same monster with more HP and damage, kind of like tempered monsters in Monster Hunter World. Like, it's just boring, but it's clever to give them their own identity. Even Frontier exclusive monsters have some hardcore variants like a Byorugu, which is kind of like Deviljho and Glavenus mixed together. The funny thing is, some monsters have a major upgrade in difficulty while others not so much. However, some hardcore variants will change up the original fighting pattern completely, like hardcore Yankutku. Let me put it this way, right? Normal Yankutku is a 1 out of 10 in difficulty. Hardcore Yankutku is a 5 out of 10. Of course, when I needed footage for this video, I was completely overpowered, so you just have to take my word for it. However, there is a step above these hardcore monsters. Certain monsters have gained new heights of power that can only be described as supremacy. Supremacy monsters are a small selection of individuals who have further mastered their abilities, becoming veterans of their own kind. They are the eldest and strongest of their species. Think of them like deviants from generations. I only need to talk about 2 of these monsters because, trust me, they get the message across. HR6 is infamous for being ridiculously hard in the Frontier community. I can attest to this because I was stuck on this rank the longest. It was actually a complete nightmare to do by myself, but I did it. Now this is where you first encounter all the Supremacy species, and of course, in old Monster Hunter fashion, they're all required. One of them being Supremacy Teostra. Even with good G-rank armor, the damage is still ridiculous. Imagine fighting this monster with high rank gear like you're supposed to. Let me tell you, it's not fun. Even with Hulk pots, I barely scraped by. Supremacy Teostra is like fighting a walking, breathing furnace. Simply being near him will burn your HP to a crisp. It's not just about dodging his attacks, but your positioning that's very crucial. He gains all sorts of new attacks, most of them being giant fire AoEs that deal damage and burn you at the same time. His more mundane attacks like the claw or tail swipe now have extra hitboxes in the form of explosive powder. Now, I wouldn't be talking about this monster if that was all to his story, so of course, he has a new phase. Supremacy Teostra has a unique enraged state where he engulfs his body in his own flames. The AoEs are larger and he can shoot fire tornadoes nearly half the arena on the regular. The worst part about this, at least to me, is that he doesn't really give you much time to react. He has this, for example, this 3-staged fire blast that he gives little breathing room to run away from. Out of all the Supremacy monsters in the game, Teostra was the second hardest for me. The hardest one, without question, is Supremacy Pariapuria. Think of this monster as a Deviljho and Tigrex mixed together to create one big, hungry, ugly fish. I hated the normal version of this monster, but the Supremacy version adds an ailment that I despise with a passion, and it's so bad I'm stuttering. It's called Soiled. Now, if you don't know what Soiled is, it basically prevents you from healing for an amount of time. The only way to remove this ailment is by using deodorant, and I wish I was joking. Supremacy Fish Boy has multiple attacks that not only hit extremely hard, but inflict this soiled effect, which means you're low on HP and can't heal for a solid minute. Combined with the tiny arena you fight him in, it is an absolute nightmare. He can suck in hunters towards him before unleashing a giant ball of saliva. He can spew out rubble from his mouth, raining from above that puts you in a dizzy state afterwards. Or he can shoot giant beams of saliva that, cover the whole arena. By the way, all of these moves inflict soiled, and he uses them pretty consistently. He can also cover his body in different colors of his saliva, and based on the color is what status it can inflict. So, for example, if he's covered in yellow saliva, any contact he makes with a hunter paralyzes them. Doesn't that sound fun? Don't you want to go through all this hassle to download this game, get in the Discord server, only to get stuck on HR6 to this soiled fish boy? This whole encounter took me a solid 10 attempts with Hulk pots and some support from other people until finally he just left. Out of all the tough encounters in this game, this one definitely leaves a stain. I'm just not a fan of monsters that limit my usage of items. It's stupid. However, this is nothing. Once you hit G rank and reach level 250, you can then take on what is considered the pinnacle of difficulty in Monster Hunter Frontier. Zenith Monsters are on an entirely different level from all of what I just covered. I adore these Zenith variants because not only are they difficult, but they truly are a fun challenge most of the time. They deserve their own video. The spectacle is incredible. They're so complex, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna cover the basics. Firstly, all of the Zeniths harbor what are called extreme versions of previously established ailments. So, for example, Zenith Rathalos can inflict extreme Fire Blight that not only chips away at your health like normal Fire Blight, albeit at a faster pace, but it also drains your maximum HP. The longer the fight goes on, the shorter your HP bar becomes. Any monster that can inflict Fire Blight normally, their Zenith counterparts simply have the extreme version. Extreme Water Blight is very annoying because it basically reduces your stamina to that of an obese 700-pound man with severe asthma. Extreme Ice Blight drains your stamina continuously until this happens. So that's fun. Those are just some examples of the extreme ailments that every single Zenith monster has. And by the way, there's a ranking system. So there's Zenith 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you climb up these numbers, not only do they get more difficult, but these elements and ailments become faster and stronger. The difference between 1 and 2 is severe. And 4, don't even get me started. One extreme Fire Blight drains half my HP. Now, some of them have special abilities that take advantage of said status conditions. Zenith Hypnocatrice can put the hunter to sleep like normal, then it'll perform a song inducing a nightmare that can one-shot pretty much anything. I only survived in this clip because one of my partners kicked me. Hypnocatrice's AI is also programmed to immediately gravitate towards sleeping hunters and perform that dark void attack. Honestly, it's really cool. I love the design and concept here. Zenith Inagami is a bit different. Zenith Hypno induces regular sleep, while Zenith Inagami induces extreme sleep. What it does basically is regular attacks will not wake you up. If you're caught in a combo that does not fling you in the air, you'll take every hit. Now, fortunately, the way it works is after a few seconds, bamboo will shoot out from underneath you regardless. So it's not like you're totally helpless the whole time. But the fact that I'm saying you'll get hit at least once by the bamboo is the best outcome really puts into perspective what Frontier has put me through. In the mainline games, being put to sleep and getting hit is pretty annoying. In Frontier, that's normal. Much like the hardcore monsters, the variation in terms of difficulty and difference from the original monsters is quite vast. Like, regular and Zenith Sawfish Boy are quite similar in their attacks and patterns, while Zenith Daimyo Hermitar is a completely different monster. As a matter of fact, Zenith Daimyo Hermitar is one of my favorite Zeniths in the game for this exact reason. He takes what I think is a boring, easy fight and turns it into an engaging encounter with neat mechanics. One of them being his ability to coat his entire body in this green substance. Now, all of his claw attacks have explosive properties that add another layer of difficulty. He can also drill into the ground, and if you're caught near it, you take insane damage, not to mention the follow-up. What makes Zenith monsters insane is that they're prone to having the absolute craziest attacks in the entire game. Most one-shot you. Scratch that, all of these attacks one-shot you. It's called a true one-shot, which means that it doesn't matter if you have a Hulk pot, it doesn't matter if you have the highest defense you can possibly achieve. These attacks are just programmed to kill you. Think of like Sheer Cold or Fissure from Pokemon, except the accuracy is much higher. Zenith Sawfish Man will launch hunters into the air and then drill them into the ground with his horn. The Scorpion can drag you underground, and then you have Guanzorumu with his little helpers that carry you off the platform. He's not a Zenith monster, by the way. I just wanted to insert that into the video somehow. At the time of writing this script, I have not fought all the Zeniths because there are just so many, but if you're curious, I would say the worst one thus far is Plesioth. I would explain in detail, but I think this clip alone relays the message pretty well. Now, what if I told you there's a step above the Zeniths? A level that goes even further beyond, perhaps. The thing is, Zeniths are unlocked around level 250. The last category I'll talk about is unlocked at level 600. They are a course of special event quests that essentially leave zero room for error. The strongest and most ridiculous monsters in Frontier are the extreme individuals. Extreme individuals are, by and large, unfair, and that's the point. If it may please the court, let me show you a 10-second clip of my first encounter with Blinking Nargacuga.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, and that's the same story for every single extreme individual I attempted to fight. Let me put it this way. I've done a lot of runs in Dark Souls and Elden Ring where I no-hit the boss fights. I have beaten every single boss plenty of times without taking so much as one hit. But of course, that's optional. You can easily beat these bosses on a normal playthrough by trading hits. In Frontier, with these guys, there is no such luxury. You're either perfect or you're dead. I don't even have enough footage to talk about these monsters in detail. To be fair, I don't understand everything in Frontier. There's like 75 things to keep track of. My defenses may be lacking, I could use an upgrade in armor and weapons, but the jump from Zeniths to extreme individuals was gargantuan. The only species I even stood a chance against was Starving Devil Joe. And you fight 2 of them. There is no fight 1 Starving Devil Joe. They always come in a pair. This is the power scaling I'm talking about. The fact that these 2 monsters are easier than a 1 Nargacuga or 1 Zinogre is insane to me. Regardless, I really enjoy the challenge these monsters provide. Zenith Monsters, their main advantage was the extreme status conditions. Now you can nullify the extreme Thunder Blight and other ailments with the right resistances, but the extreme individuals, there is no countering them. You can have the best armor in the game, but they will still give you a run for your money. Not to mention the G rank level 999 versions where I think it's a one-shot no matter what. As a matter of fact, the meta in late game Frontier is not about tanking damage at all, because you can't. It's all about evasion. I'm currently in the Rain Discord server and have had amazing help from the community in there. If I haven't said it before, even with all these ridiculous monsters, I highly recommend it. If you're a big fan of the Monster Hunter series, this is a must. If you're new to the Monster Hunter series, stay away from Frontier for now. For now, I think I'm gonna scoot along. I'm currently playing 9 Souls, and I've gotten to the point where the game's got me hooked, so I'm excited to finish that game. And of course, when Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, I'll be posting content there too, so look forward to that. And if you did enjoy today's video, be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care everyone, and of course, stay safe.